Welcome to Good Money Moves, the show where we share with you financial tips and advice to help you feel financially empowered. I'm Jenna Taubel, and with me today is Kristina Kovacevic, our AVP of Retail and Member Experience here at First Alliance Credit Union, and we are here to talk about how to get started saving money, a huge and important topic for everyone. But before we dig into that, Kristina, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself and your role here at First Alliance?
Perfect. So as Jenna mentioned, I'm Kristina Kovacevic. I am the Assistant Vice President of Member Experience. Been in the financial industry for over 10 years now, so have learned a lot over the 10 years on how to build credit, how to save money. So here to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Let's just jump right into our topic today. What would you say is the easiest way for someone who feels a little bit financially stretched, like maybe they're just really feeling like they're living paycheck to paycheck, they really don't feel like they have room to save money? What are some tips and things that you would tell a member in that case that wants to save but isn't quite sure how to get started?
I think the biggest thing is looking at your transactions on a monthly basis and seeing where you spend your money. Not saying that you have to stop drinking coffee every day, but maybe cut it back a little bit, and then that $10 that you would have spent on coffee, transfer that into your savings account. So little by little, you will get there. Saving takes time because life happens and things come about. Yeah, small little steps.
Yeah, I know people get up, they don't love hearing like, oh, cut back on your coffee, but that's just such an easy place to start. I think that's why we hear that kind of tip all the time.
Yeah.
Because it really does make a big difference. And I think to your point, when you kind of start to look at all of the things that you're spending money on a monthly basis, it can be really eye-opening where your money's actually going, and maybe that's not really the intention of where you want your money to go, especially if saving is a priority.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to just swipe your debit card or your credit card and not really think about how much is added on in the day until you get that statement at the end of the month, or you look at your account at the end of the month to pay your bills and you're like, wow, I just spent $50, $60 on coffee. And I think once you start being more conscious about where your money is going, you start to reprogram yourself, and then you start finding other ways that you can cut back.
Yeah. What do you see as maybe some common mistakes people run into when they're first getting started trying to build a habit of savings?
I think the first mistake that people make is they're so eager to save money that they put too much money away. And then they're not really thinking about all the expenses that they have going on for the month. So they put too much away, and then they think to themselves, oh, I'll just pull $50 here, $10 here. And then next thing you know, by the end of the paycheck or by the end of the month, you've completely drained your account. So I think biggest mistake is just putting away too much and not being realistic with what you have going on for that month as far as expenses.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because that could be really demotivating for somebody who's just trying to get started, to realize, oh, maybe my goal was too aggressive, and then they just feel like they need to give up. But really, it's not that you need to give up. You just need to dial back and kind of reapproach your savings plan a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's maybe talk about some short-term savings goals. That, let's say somebody just has their first job. What are some initial things that they should be thinking about saving for, as a first-time saver?
I think just when you get your first job and you're looking to start saving, and I think it's important to maybe think about the things that you want to save for. So you have a goal. It's not, oh, I'm just going to put this in a savings account for a rainy day, but I'm going to put this away so I can go on vacation, or I'm going to put this away for Christmas. I'm going to put this away because I want to get my own place, or remodel something, or update something in your house. So I think having a specific thing that you want to save for just kind of solidifies your plans, and it makes it easier to budget for yourself.
Yeah, and I like that you bring up that it doesn't have to be for something boring, right? You said it doesn't have to just be for rainy day.
Yeah.
It could be for something fun, like a vacation. It's okay to have savings goals that are fun and exciting and motivating for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
But bringing up the rainy day fund, let's talk about that a little bit. An emergency fund is a kind of a foundational need for everyone.
Yes.
So how much should you be saving in an emergency fund? What should the goal be?
I've heard that you should save like 3 months worth of your salary. I just feel like in this day and age, that's really hard to do. So I think any amount of money that you can save for a rainy day is helpful, because let's say you have a $10,000 bill that comes up and you have $5,000 in your savings. Well, now you don't have to charge that full $10,000 on a credit card or go get a personal loan. For that whole amount, you can kind of split up a little bit on how much you're going to use from your savings versus how much of a loan or credit card you're going to put on there. So I think it just makes things a little more realistic. And it's a peace of mind, like just knowing that you have that money in case of emergency is such a great feeling to have.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that peace of mind, because I think to your point that, 3 months worth of salary is a huge number to think about for anybody. And to even just get started with, a goal of $500, like that could cover some basic car repairs or an appliance that goes out.
Utility bill.
Right,
Yeah.
that is higher than expected, those types of things.
Yes.
I think I like the ultimate goal of having that 3 month salary, because that's really a really good cushion for if you were to lose your job and weren't able to find employment again. But to your point, like start smaller and like build from there. What are maybe some, you talked about having to maybe deplete that amount of money that you've saved to pay for something. What are some ways that people can rebuild that savings account if they have had to dip into that emergency fund and they have had to deplete that? I mean, that can feel a little deflating to see that big number in your account and then all of a sudden it's gone because you had to use it for what it was intended, but it still can be like, oh, that was so much.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, if you do have to deplete that account, I think the most important thing is that not to feel discouraged, because that's such a huge accomplishment to have, knowing that you have that money in your account and you can use it when you need it. But as far as how to get it back, I think just continue to stick to your plan, and just know that life happens and that it's okay when you have to use that money. That's what it's intended for. And I think it's important that when people come into First Alliance that we tell people that it's okay to use that money. But having to use it and you're like, shoot, I had $5,000 and now I have $2,500. Maybe you're a little more aggressive with, saving, maybe you cut back another lunch or you cut back another coffee. I've noticed that when people have had to use their account, their savings account to deplete, to use it for bills or emergency funds, they're coming back and saying, hey, this time I wish I had more money so I didn't have to take out that personal loan for the remaining amount.
Sure.
So I think it's a blessing and a curse, because you feel defeated, but then in the same breath, you're like, I know I can do better. And your mind frame changes on what you can do.
Yeah. No, that's a great perspective on that for sure. I think, one thing I'm thinking about when it comes to trying to make savings easy for people, so that you don't feel discouraged or that you don't put it off till later, is to kind of automate that process. Can you talk a little bit about how that can work for someone?
Yep. So even myself currently, I get paid every 2 weeks, and I set up automatic transfers, not only into my account, but also my son's account. So it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And then it's nice to log into your online banking, like, oh yeah, Liam has X amount now, or I have X amount. But I think automating it, like I said, out of sight, out of mind, you don't have to worry about transferring that money. It's just one less step. It makes things a lot easier for you.
Yeah. And, one thing, because you bring up that's how you handle it, I also do the same thing. And I think it's kind of fun to be able to just watch that balance slowly tick up, because you don't have to put thousands of dollars away every month. It can be $25. It can be $5 in an account here or there, just to kind of get started. And automating that process kind of takes your decision making out of it. It's almost like if you get paid on a certain day and you set up that automation to pull that same day, you'll never even miss it because it was never there for you to spend in the first place.
Exactly.
So I love that example. What are some things that you've seen our team members here at First Alliance do to kind of help people achieve their savings goals? What are some of the coaching and things that you tell members?
So as I stated, I've been in the financial industry for 10 years, but I've never worked for an organization that truly takes time to learn about their members. I feel like most of the staff at First Alliance, they're not order takers. They're going to look at your credit. They're going to give you suggestions. They truly care about the members that they're serving, so much so that they know them by name. They stop in, and I think it's because they built that relationship, they built that trust. And I've seen a lot of members here at First Alliance that just yesterday at Strouffville, there was a member that came in and never had a savings account before, and Sid helped her, and it was such a cool experience to see that, because most of the time when people come in, they're so stressed, and then us giving them a line of sight or giving them a goal to work towards, and when they stick to it, it's such a rewarding feeling to see them see their credit score jump up or see that savings balance increase every month. We're happy for you when that happens.
We want to celebrate along with you. Absolutely. I love that. Earlier you mentioned like one way to be able to kind of maybe cut back on expenses is, that morning coffee run. What are some other ways, like for me, I don't do a morning coffee run. What are some other ways that you could cut back on expenses that can make, those incremental impacts that you were talking about?
I think the biggest thing is just looking to see what your needs are and what your wants are. So you might not be a coffee drinker, but maybe you like to get lunch every day, or maybe you like to go shopping. I think setting realistic goals for yourself on what you can save. I also think that it's okay to have more than one savings account. You can have a shopping account, a coffee account, Christmas account. So I think it's really sitting down and being real with yourself on where you spend your money and how you spend your money. I know this is maybe not realistic, but maybe you do have to get a second job for a little bit to put that money away in savings for that emergency fund or that Christmas fund. So I think it's just really sitting down and being true to yourself and what your expenses are. And that's hard for people. So we here at First Alliance, if you come and meet with one of our team members, we can help you do that. We can help set a budget for you that's realistic, that's obtainable, that's not going to put you in a pinch every month where you feel like you have to pull that money out of your savings.
Yeah. No, those are really great points, and I like that you talked about setting up like different accounts to help you save and like understand what your goals are and what you're saving for. And you mentioned things like Christmas and vacation. So we actually have, specific accounts here at First Alliance, those club accounts.
Savings, yeah.
How do those work?
Those are just like a regular savings account. They're just a club account. You can rename those accounts on your online banking. So you have that Christmas fund, you have the shopping fund, but it's just a nice way to have your funds divided out between what you need. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so what I really like about the club accounts is that they're specific to those goals, but then they also like release those funds back to you, right? At those certain points in the year. So they kind of align with, if you want to take a vacation, you're getting that money that you've saved over the year in June or July, or if it's for something you've been saving for Christmas, you get that money in November, so that you have all that money. I think we have a back to school account as well that releases in August, right? So I really like them for that reason. It can be a great way to kind of set aside funds for the expenses that you are anticipating to have on a regular basis and not have to, again, out of sight, out of mind, especially if you use that automation we talked about before to get to that point. One other thing that you talked about, and didn't call it this, but budgeting, right? How does budgeting play into developing a savings plan and savings goal for yourself?
Budgeting is huge. I believe that everyone should have a budget. Everyone's budget is going to look different, but again, being realistic with, how much money you make versus how many bills, how much your bills come out to, and then setting realistic goals on how much you can budget to put in those accounts. So not over budgeting. I think that's the biggest problem that people make. Like we talked about that, just setting thousands of dollars away and then having to pull. Being realistic, I think that's with your budget. And a lot of people that, from working in the financial industry, they've never set a budget. So here at First Alliance, we have all of our team members know how to help you with a budget. We have people are going through certifications to become financial counselors. We have products that we offer like Green Path that give you the ability to take that extra step and work with someone else alongside with us. So it's a community of people that can help you do that.
That's awesome. So if a member were to come in and sit down and ask and say, like, will you help me make a budget? What does that process look like for someone?
I think biggest thing is when a member calls you and they ask for that service, have them print off their bank statements. Have them maybe attach 2 most recent pay stubs. Come prepared as far as write down some basic things that you spend money on a consistent rent, mortgage, utilities, car payment, insurance, food. Nothing is off limits. If you spend the money on there, jot it on there. So I think coming prepared so that when you sit down with someone at First Alliance, they can look at the whole picture of your financial life, and then they can help better plan, because if we're missing information, it's really hard for us to create a budget that works for you. We can create one, but is it going to be realistic? Maybe not, because maybe every month you like to go to a concert. Well, you missed that part of telling us. So just being truthful about where and how you spend your money.
Yeah, and I think I like that you bring up, like, you have things that you like to do, and it's not a bad thing to have fun things you want to spend your money on. It's just how do you fit it in your budget without putting yourself in a hard position, or putting yourself in a position where you can't also save money over time is, I think, the biggest key there. One product that I really love here at First Alliance that we haven't talked about yet is the WINcentive Savings account. And I love this account for the reasons that we were kind of just alluding to with the fun stuff, right? It is such a fun account. Every $25 you save in this account, you earn entries into prize drawings for $100, $1,000, and $5,000. And we have had at First Alliance 2 $5,000 winners in the time that we've had this account. And so I get super excited about it for things like saving for a vacation, or a down payment on a vehicle, because it helps you really build that habit of saving.
Absolutely.
And does it in a really fun way. So even if you don't win that prize, you still come out ahead because you've now saved at least $25 a month. I just absolutely love that. But what are maybe some other, fun ways people can motivate themselves to save money?
Goals. Having goals on what you want to spend your money on. Making plans. So for instance, I have a vacation fund. Once I start seeing that balance build up in there, I'm like, oh, what else can I do on this vacation? So I think just being mindful of what you're looking to do with that money, and then also start making plans to spend that money, because it encourages you to keep saving, because as you look at, the vacation and the hotel that you're going to be staying at, it makes you excited, and you're like, oh, I can save this and I can save that, and I don't really need to go do this, I can do that. So I think not just saying I want this for a vacation, but I want to take a vacation to the Dominican Republic in August. And so having time frames, I think also helps you save money. I think that's the biggest thing for me, at least. Yeah, having very clear goals that you want to achieve, instead of just, I want to save money. It's, I want to save money for this by this time. Yes. And it sets you up for more success. I love that. I love that advice. Anything else that our listeners should know about saving money, or last tips that you want to share? I think I want to end this podcast by saying that it's okay to deplete your savings account every once in a while. I think it's okay to mess up sometimes. It's a learning experience, and if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn, and you don't sit down and think about what could I do differently. So don't be too hard on yourself. I think that's that is great advice. Don't be too hard on yourself. That is your key takeaway. Yes. Start somewhere and don't be hard on yourself. Awesome. Well, Kristina, thank you so much for being here today. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you for tuning in. And before you go, make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
And this has been Good Money Moves by First Alliance Credit Union. If you want to learn more about how to save money, visit firstalliancecu.com.